Buildings have evolved, so let's give them the attention they deserve. This is 10 Minutes to a Better Building, a podcast from the building experts at Boland. We're a building solutions provider with more than 350 professionals and 150 technicians with one goal in mind: to make your building better. All right, hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of 10 Minutes to a Better Building. I'm your host, Tyler Kern. Welcome to another episode of the show. We're thrilled to have you along with us here today. On this episode, we're talking rentals, and we're going to be talking to the man that started the rental department at Boland. His name is John Finucan. He is the Senior Rental Project Executive at Boland. John, welcome to the podcast. Thanks for joining me.
Good morning, Tyler. How you doing?
I am doing well. Thanks so much for joining us on the podcast here today, John.
My pleasure.
Very, very good. So, John, as the man who started the rental services at Boland, can you tell us a little bit about why rentals are so important for just such a wide range of facilities? Give us a little bit of background on the importance of rentals.
Well, the importance are, especially, let's start off with contingency planning, because that's kind of an area that kind of will catch all. But if you have a contingency plan, it allows you to keep comfort temperatures in your office building as well as your healthcare facility, or in the case of industrial plants, it will keep your production ongoing. Another issue is data centers are another critical facility to maintaining cooling for all their servers. And if they have redundancy, but if they lose redundancy, they will need to bring the safety factor back up. And at that, you could bring in temporary rental equipment to take care of that. Another benefit with rental equipment is you can have a maintenance outage, so you can do maintenance on existing equipment and not interrupt your day-to-day operation. So that's a little bit of what rentals can do for you and what they're out there for.
That's a great answer, I think, and it really helps understand and underline the importance of rentals for a lot of different facilities. And we're going to talk about some of those different facilities here coming up on the podcast. But first, John, I want to get a little bit more of a sense of some of the things that you do when you evaluate a facility. So what sorts of steps do you take when you are evaluating a facility for its rental needs and you're there on site? What sorts of things do you look for? What sorts of things do you do?
Well, contingency planning can be a contingency plan for the future, or just if you have to go out there on emergency and take a look at it, you can kind of do a brief contingency plan. Contingency planning for your facility is a great way to ascertain if you have an emergency that will cause you downtime and interrupt your HVAC power to your operation. For a facility that has one chiller or a boiler with no redundancy, a contingency plan can be a stress reliever. If you have one in place, you have figured out your voltage, tonnage, BTUs, the need of a generator if needed, and where they're connecting to the existing equipment or building to provide heat or chill water while you're getting your existing equipment up and running. It's much better to figure this out in a contingency plan rather than do it at an emergency crisis.
Yeah, that's a really good point, especially as you look to reduce downtime and reduce the disruption that an outage would cause, and that sort of thing. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So John, tell me about some of the facilities that you work with. What are some that you see maybe most often, most frequently, and maybe what are some of the facilities that should look into rental services?
Well, definitely healthcare facilities, because if you lose your cooling or heating in a hospital, they'd have to move all those patients to another area, and even to find another area that you move them to, it would be quite an undertaking. So I think healthcare facilities definitely should have a contingency plan in place, especially if the equipment is older and they're looking to replace the equipment, because then you might have to even put a rental chiller in place while you're replacing the equipment to keep the building ongoing. Data centers, another one. Data centers, they have a redundancy, but basically, if you lose redundancy, you got to bring that factor back up to make sure you maintain those servers if something else happens to another chiller as you repair the other chiller. Office buildings, you have tenants paying rent, and they expect to have the proper comfort cooling. So and also same with residential apartment buildings, places in town that has central plants.
Yeah, some of the examples of facilities that maybe should be thinking about it if they're not already thinking about rentals.
Right, that's it.
Absolutely. So as we talk about this, obviously you place a lot of emphasis on comfort, on uptime, on things along those lines. And obviously the summertime is really a time for that people think about their HVAC system, right? And they're thinking about, okay, we live in a part of the world, I think most places in the United States, if you're to lose AC over the summer, that's going to cause some major problems for those facilities, especially some of the ones that we've mentioned here. So if people are talking about putting or thinking about putting contingency plans in place for the summer, when should they start making those plans, and how should they go about, thinking about that timeline?
Well, basically, contingency planning can be done anytime. But for air conditioning, I would definitely do it in your winter months. And then if you need heating, then you do that in the summertime for heating. It would be the best time. Like right now, if you have a facility that you're concerned with, I would definitely give our team a call and see if we can come out and just do a quick analysis of your system and see what it would take to hook up a rental chiller in case of a need, in the summer.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, because people, it's one of those things where you always want to be thinking ahead and preparing ahead, and probably, in the midst of summer, it's probably not the best time to be making contingency plans for the summer, right? For that particular season, it's better to be thinking ahead. So you would encourage people, if they're thinking about the summer and what their needs might potentially be, or their contingency needs, what they currently are for the upcoming summer season, best to do that now as we record here in January.
Yes, absolutely.
Can you also share a little bit, we're talking primarily about looking ahead to the summertime, but also there might be needs in the winter as well. So can you share a little bit about the availability of rental heaters and what that looks like as well?
Yes, I'd like to mention that, we are in the prime heating season right now. And we do have electric heaters from 18 kW up to 150 kW. We also have boilers, steam boilers, water tube boilers, heat exchangers, portable spot heat cooling units, and the list goes on. We have about any HVAC equipment that one would need to keep their operation up and running.
John, my wife likes to keep my house too cold, and I'd like to rent a Boland heater just to keep myself warm, if that's possible. I doubt it.
No, absolutely. We got the little spot coolers. You can roll right into the room and plug it in and vent it out, and it's a little heat pump, so you got heat and cool.
Perfect. All right, this sounds great. I can have my own little sub climate in my own corner of the house. That sounds great. So we've talked a little bit just about people reaching out and having those conversations and starting those conversations with the folks at Boland. What's the best way for people to get in touch with you and the rental team at Boland if they have questions, if they want to start thinking about the summertime now? What does that look like? Can they go to the website? Can they give you a call? What are some of the best ways to get in touch?
Absolutely. They could give us a call. Let's just call Boland, and they can switch it to whatever the rental division. The other thing is please go to our Boland website and go to rentals. You'll have all the information there and all the different equipment that we have available. And then, like I said, Boland has been in HVAC business for the last 62 plus years. We've 28 of them. We've had rental division, and Boland would love to take and we'll take pride in servicing your rental needs.
Excellent stuff. John, before we wrap up today, any final thoughts, anything you want to leave our listeners with, just in terms of the importance of rentals, or anything that we haven't touched on yet that you think it's important for people to know? Give us any final thoughts you got.
No, I just think that please check out our website. If you're in need, reach out to us, and we will definitely take good care of you.
Very good stuff. Like John mentioned, you can head to the Boland website. That's just boland.com. And at the top of the page, you'll see a What We Do section. And then if you hover over that, you can scroll down to rental services. It's the 5th or 6th item down on the list. It's just right there. You can click on that and learn a lot more about the Boland rental services. And there's great ways to get in touch there on that page as well. So make sure to go do that. If you have questions, if you want to get in touch with John, make sure to go do that today. John Finucan, he's the Senior Rental Project Executive at Boland. John, thank you so much for joining us here on the podcast today and sharing some expertise on the world of rentals.
My pleasure. Thank you. And everybody have a great day.
Absolutely. I'll echo that as well. Everyone out there, have an excellent day. Thank you again for joining us here on the podcast for another episode of 10 Minutes to a Better Building. Remember, if you want to reach out to Boland, go to boland.com and stay tuned for upcoming episodes of 10 Minutes to a Better Building. But for this one, for my guest today, John Finucan, I've been your host, Tyler Kern. Thanks for joining us.